I don't know. What am I saying? Who are you? What's your name?
I don't know.
What do people
I don't know.
need to know?
Maybe we should go and listen to other podcasts and see how they start. Hello, welcome to Le Pod. It's a brand new podcast we're going to be putting out from down here in the basement of Le Pub twice a month. We're going to be talking to our staff, our community, local bands, local artists, and anyone we think is interesting.
Yes, welcome to episode number 5 of Le Pod. Racing through the episode numbers already. And today's episode, we have another double header, as you might have seen if you follow our socials. Not one, but 2 guests. Well, 2 guests, 3 people. We just spoil you. 3 people representing 2 organisations, so I'm going to go with 2 guests, I guess. The first one is Jasper and Caitlin from Rose Parade Recording Co. And they are a brand new, kind of started up during lockdown, record label in Cardiff, based in Cardiff, representing a bunch of exciting new artists. And the unique kind of thing about them is that they are also, as Le Pub is, a community interest company. So they have been set up and founded by members of the community, members of the music industry, artists themselves even, as we talk about in the podcast. And they're like us, they're like Le Pub, they focus on what's most important. They are very kind of community centric. And it's really exciting. I'm rooting for those guys. They're doing good work. In the second half of the episode, we have the singer, the guitarist, the songwriter, the frontman of long-standing Newport punk band Bedford Falls. I can almost guarantee, if you've spent any time at all in the pub, whether that be the old one or the new one, that you've seen Bedford Falls. As we mentioned in the podcast, they are the band that have officially, not officially, I guess, unofficially, played the most amount of gigs in the pub. Yeah, quite the achievement. And Tom throws down the gauntlet to any other bands that might be up and coming and wanting to get their hands on that achievement. So if you're feeling up for it, come on down to the pub. And we won't be able to give you any gigs to help you get that record because we're closed. We've been shut down again. But there we are. I don't know. We'll chuck on a virtual gig or something so you can try and get your teeth into that record. But until that point, Tom and his band Bedford Falls are the record holder for gigs in the pub. We talk about all sorts, as we tend to do on the pod, including...
It's going to be like a label for the community and like the music community.
Social media is, we all know that it's a pain in the ass. So we got that tour, and about 3 weeks before the tour, I was on holiday with Jim, our drummer, and he's like, look man, we're not going to be able to do the tour.
100%, and there is definitely a gap between what the artists should be getting, and what they are.
So this is the part of the intro where I like to kind of shout out about what's going on at the pub, try and drum up some interest, but cards on the table, we've been shut down again. Lockdown number whatever is upon us, and we can no longer open for a while until the 17th. Old Mr. Drakeford has said that we can't sell alcohol and we can't stay open past 6 p.m, so we said, what's the point? And we've taken the decision to shut until the 17th. So I guess what I can shout out is our reopening on the 17th. But even that is kind of optimistic because all he said was that he's going to review it again on the 17th. So who knows if we're actually going to be open from then. But hopefully on the 17th will be the grand Le Pub reopening and we'll see all your happy smiling faces there. Yeah, I hope. I really hope. Anyway, the podcast is still going. That seems to be pretty lockdown proof at the moment, although I would like to have some face-to-face conversations with people. That would be nice, not over the internet, one day, maybe. So we are very, very grateful for all your listens and your likes and your subscribes. Please keep them coming, they do help. And if you're feeling especially fan-like, super fanish, uber fanish, head on over to Ko-Fi, spelt ko-fi.com/lepod, and chuck us some of your change that you might have rattling around. Put it to a good cause, and we will be happy. We will be very happy. without further ado, here is episode number 5 of Le Pod with Rose Parade Recording Co. and Tom from Bedford Falls. What is your experience of COVID at the moment? getting old, but it is.
It's getting tedious.
I know. Cool. So, yeah, how are you guys? I already asked Jasper. I kind of did some preamble before we started recording, but now we're all here together. How are you guys?
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, all things considered. Like I was just saying, yeah, lockdown's been pretty crazy, but yeah, like getting through, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kate looks distracted by something. If I started early, are you still saying?
Yeah, these are acting really strangely.
A
So.
deer in the headlights.
Yeah, sorry.
No worries, it's all good.
Shall I fill the space with COVID talk?
Yes,
do it. I'm sure your girlfriend's got some horrifying stories, is she? Are they real eye-openers?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, as I said, she's just started as a radiographer in the NHS, so she just comes back with like all the stories. They've all pretty much merged into one at this point, but yeah, it's like it's just a hospital full of COVID patients, basically. Either confirmed or, very
Suspected.
likely.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's nuts. It's crazy. Do feel for her, but
so is she kind of like roped into treating COVID patients outside of her usual radiography, or
usually, yeah. Well,
I
need to get this right now, though I should kill me. I think in like there's an area called CT in radiography, and basically anyone who goes in there for like a chest X-ray, like a lot of times they do find signs of COVID there as well. So so yeah, she does have to come into contact with a lot of people who do or potentially do have COVID.
Yeah.
But yeah, just loads of PPE. Like she's always complaining about like her face hurting because of the visor and the face mask. Like she's got all the gear on, so it's pretty crazy.
It's brutal.
Yeah, but I just get to fly low under the radar, and I'm still a student, so I don't need to put myself in there. But yeah, like big respect to people in the NHS. Definitely.
Oh, for sure, heroes. Yeah,
it's hard.
I got a friend who was a speech and language therapist, so not even like in anything to do with COVID kind of treatment, but she got roped into it. She had to kind of come and help out and do her part just because she had some medical experience. It was just kind of all hands on deck kind of thing.
Yeah. You heard about like at the very beginning, all retirees was coming back to help out, and
yeah.
And then they were, as quick as they came, they were leaving because it was just too much.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just they're to the walls. But yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it is mental. So what do you study?
So I'm in Cardiff Uni doing mechanical engineering. So I'm in my last year of my undergrad, and then I'm on the masters. So I've got a year of masters after this as well.
Oh, nice. So that's already confirmed. You got your place.
Yeah, yes. That was like I'm on the integrated masters. So I just jumped. I did better than I thought at A level. So I thought I'd just like jump on that just to stretch the most out of the degree. I guess. So yeah, and not have to pay taxes for as long as possible. So or tax.
Huge silver lining. Yeah. Nothing music related though. Like I wasn't expecting the mechanical engineering.
No, not really, unless you're like talking about acoustics, which actually doesn't even come into it. Yeah, no, nothing. I was very close to going to RNCM in Manchester, like really close. I've got a couple of mates who've been there, who are still there actually. But yeah, don't know. I don't know. Just like I guess my parents and also I did enjoy like maths in school. I think that's what steered me towards that instead.
Right.
Really, yeah. And then obviously I really like keeping music on the side as a hobby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair enough.
So,
Bit of a distraction.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
A very good distraction.
Yeah. How about you, Caitlin? Are you a student or are you kind of...
I've literally just finished my masters, so last Monday, so like a week ago, it was just like all finished. So I did my final presentation. So expecting the results in December now. So I did a arts management masters at the Royal Welsh College in Music and Drama. So that was a really fun 2 years. Learned a lot. So excited to get out and actually working now. So it's exciting.
Sure.
Yeah.
So are you both kind of in Rose Parade, like as long as it can go kind of thing? Or is it just an of the moment thing, or what? How are you looking at it at the moment?
I think it's a kind of very much we've got ideas and like dreams for as far as it can go, and just like working on it. But then I think we're also very aware is this label isn't just us. It's going to be like a label for the community and like the music community, and like for anyone to come in and just like if they've got interests or anything that excites them, we want to be a part of that. So I want to just work on it for as long as I can, really, because it's one of the most exciting things I've been involved in a long time. So
awesome. Yeah, it sounded exciting. Like when you guys got in touch, because obviously Le Pub is a community interest company, and so that's obviously close to our hearts. And it's really interesting how that would operate as a record label. So how, like, why did you choose to kind of set this up as a community interest company?
Jasper, were you going to? Jasper, you're the person to.
I don't know. It kind of fell in line with our ethos and our standards, really, because, like Kate said, we're for the community and for the artists. So when we were being led through the whole process of becoming a company, we all sat down and thought, which alley do we really want to go down? And a kick was basically just like screaming out to us of what fell in line most with our ethos. So yeah. I mean, a kick just made the most sense to us, really.
Yeah. That's great. I feel like I've kind of jumped the gun a little bit. Like we've gone into what kind of a business you are before we even know what you do. Tell us a little bit about Rose Parade. Tell us what it is and how it came to be.
So Rose Parade is a new independent Welsh record label. It is an artist-driven record label. So and it's also democratic in the directors board, so we want to work as closely as possible with the artists who we get a chance to work with. So that means, actually them almost running the label, almost kind of coinciding it with us in how the label is run for them. Awesome. So then, we have a directors board, and we've been meeting once a week since we started. And we just decide who we think, we want to work with in terms of who we want to take on as other directors, who we want to take on as artists. And it just sort of came to be through, I'm in a band called TJ Roberts, and we were on a really amazing label called Libertino. And we just saw an opportunity for ourselves to perhaps take on the reins of a record label and maybe make it our own. And Libertino did amazing things for us. And we just thought we could maybe take that on, take some inspiration from them and just go from there, really. And Tom and Heather work as one amazing unit, and they've been leading the way in through what for me has been just such a learning curve in terms of like starting a business and how it goes.
Sure, yeah.
And it's been a great experience. But that's kind of how it came about, really.
Awesome. And so the artists that you have, are they directors as well? Like you said that it's democratic and that the directors kind of make the decisions. Are artists directors, or are they in those directors meetings, or
artists? What? Artists aren't. Well, they can be. So TJ Roberts, as I said, we kind of wanted this idea of setting up our own label. And TJ Roberts is one of the artists under the record label.
Right.
But we kind of exist as two different things. We need to sort of separate being artist mind and then director mind. But as time goes on, we'll have directors who aren't necessarily artists that are on the label and are helping us make decisions going ahead. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, for sure. And how long have you guys been going? It's a fairly new kind of endeavour, yeah?
Oh, how long's it been, Kate, now?
I actually came in the August, I think it was, or like late July, early August. But then
is that of this year?
Yes, of this year. So it's it's pretty much a lockdown baby, if you want to call it that. So I think the seeds of it were sown like at the start of the year. I want to say March time. Is that correct, Jess?
Yeah. I think it started its birth with actually Tom and Gav speaking about the idea of creating something of a label, ourselves, probably over a pint of Guinness now and then, and it just sort of it went from there. And I heard them sort of talking about it, and then it became more of like we have a meeting of do we actually want to do this, and then it just sort of it went from there, and it has like it's accelerated massively since then. Like everything that's been going on has been so fast paced, but it's been great. We've already got artists under our belts ready to release some music, and it's really exciting.
That's impressive considering that's all happened during lockdown. Like that's not a period of time you'd expect to have such kind of rapid expansion.
Yeah, I mean, you hear about people picking up lockdown hobbies, but I never thought that starting a company was going to be mine. But here we are.
It's quite the hobby.
Yeah.
So what are your guys' roles within Rose Parade then? What do you do?
So I was behind setting up the website alongside with Tom. We were just trying to get. First we had to kind of find out what we wanted to use. So we were going through all like the WordPress and Squarespace, I was kind of behind just setting that out, giving our artists, the space they need for people to find out what they're about. Setting up a store as well, so we've got merch for the record label. And I've kind of been behind that, and then we all share a common role in sort of, as I said, democratically sort of deciding who we want to take on, be it directors or artists. That's my area. I'm sure I have there's a title in there. I can't remember it right now, but there is one there for me.
Website manager. We went.
That's the one.
Yeah,
that's the one.
Website manager.
Tech guy. That's me.
That sounds
tech
legit.
lad. Yeah, and so I'm the marketing manager. So myself and Gav Owen, he works on the social media kind of aspect of it.
Okay.
Doesn't touch Facebook because he hates Facebook. But then I'm the Facebook person.
Oh, so you do Facebook? I see. I was going to say you gotta cover all your bases these days.
Yeah, so I do a lot of that, kind of doing strategy kind of things, doing PR as well, and because we do a lot of in-house things as well, so rather than necessarily just like hiring out, because it's an expensive business, then we need to keep that money in. And then so I do a lot of that, and like emails and all the sorts of things that we need to shout about ourselves. So I'm kind of involved in that process.
Cool. It seems very hands-on, like hearing about both of your roles. It's just like, getting the things done that need to be done, that make this company. It's like that in the pub as well. You just, all hands on deck, get the work done kind of thing. It's wicked.
And that's definitely a mindset that I've had to be in. I've kind of swayed in and out of. Ultimately, you need to be in that, and you need to be like, we are the people who are making it happen. So
and it doesn't happen without you, kind of thing.
Exactly. So we have to, things have to become actions, I suppose, and that's what it's been. It's been another learning curve, really. It's just making it happen and actually putting in the time and doing it. It's been great.
So tell me
and
about
I think I think all of us were like a very like team driven anyway, so we're all like really into it. And then because we have our own like little WhatsApp group, which we're just constantly firing ideas into, and just constantly, what if we do this, what if we do that, and then even things that seem like a couple of years down the line, but it's like we've been like pushing to try and like let's dream it, and then we'll eventually do it. So it's a very, really exciting and fantastic thing to be a part of.
It's the beauty of a small company, I guess you could say. Like there's no like layers of bureaucracy you have to go through, or people to like sign forms or whatever. If you have an idea and it's decided to be good, then you can do it. Like it's as simple as that. I love it.
The power of WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So tell me about the artists that you guys have on the roster at the moment. You mentioned TJ Roberts already. I guess we'll start there.
So TJ Roberts is led by Thomas Roberts and his wife Heather. Tom is the front man, plays guitar. Heather is on keys and vocals. Tom's on lead vocals. And then it's Gav Owen on bass, who's another director in the company.
Okay.
And yeah, I've been on a placement year this last year for uni, and I just sort of thought, well, I've got a car now this year. I've got to make the most of being able to, get into as many sort of groups as possible. So I've known Gav and I've been in bands with him since I was about 13. Sort of in and out of bands with him. Yeah, we go back. We're bros. So yeah, he just messaged me out of the blue saying, "Oh, hey man, I'm in this new group. Do you want to get involved?" And it was like perfect timing. So I said, "Yeah, absolutely." So it's 4 of us, and yeah, it's going great. We recently did a culture lab session, which is on YouTube. Nice. You can find on YouTube.
Was that for your new single that you're putting out? Yeah.
It was sort of in line with the new single and then the new album coming out.
But it was the album as well, yeah.
Yeah, so it was playing mostly new tracks, and it was so fun, such a good experience, and it was such a respite from the massive lack of gigs now in lockdown. So definitely helped in that department. But so new album coming out. And new single just dropped as well, so it's exciting times.
It's good as well, man. I like the new single. The what's it called? Hollywood Star.
Passed Out on Hollywood Star.
That's the one. Yeah, I was listening to it on my run this morning. It's good.
Yeah, Tom's amazing. He's a good songwriter.
Sunny, I guess you'd say that. That's the word that kept coming to mind as I was listening to it. It's a jam. I like it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I love playing that song. It's so much fun. Yeah, Tom's great. Really good writer.
Does he writes the stuff and then you all kind of get in a room and kind of flesh it out, is it? Or
well, because I was I kind of leaked in at the end of the sort of songs being kind of written. Tom and I think had together kind of spearheading the songwriting, and I believe Gav is throwing in ideas as well, bass part wise and vocal wise. They're really good all together.
Nice. Yeah. I've heard the term indie corner to describe you guys as well.
Yeah, that's been thrown around. There's all sorts of terms being thrown around, I know.
I quite like it. It describes it pretty well.
Indie corner is I think is nailed on the head.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we can just leave it there in that one word description. If people like the sound of indie corner, check out TJ Roberts. Yeah.
That's it.
So who else you got?
So we've also got Shreddies. He's a techno producer, kind of IDM, sort of Aphex Twin, sort of Forte-esque kind of stuff. So it's kind of like his music I would describe as imagine being in a dark club, a basement club in a corner, just having a nod along. That is that kind of vibe, and proper midnight music. I just absolutely love it. And Shreddies is Josh Stickins, who is also the bassist of Rosehip Tea House as well. So completely different, different music there. But yeah, really up and coming musician, and we're really excited to be releasing his stuff now. So in the new year.
Forgive my ignorance, but electronic music isn't my forte. What's IDM? I've heard EDM.
The IDM is known as intelligent dance music. So it kind of came around from Aphex Twin and Orteka and different band artists like that. So it's a bit it's kind of it's one of those terms, I guess. Can seem a bit snobby, but it is. I don't think it is. I think it's got that kind of layer, all those layers to it. I think it's really exciting kind of stuff. So I'm really into it. So definitely check out Shreddies as well. Shreddies. So
nice. And then there's one more, yeah.
And then we have Sam Barnes as well, which Jasper. I don't know if you want to talk about him.
Yeah, sure. So Sam has actually. The way I've met him is he's played with TJ Roberts a couple of times, filling in on guitar parts. But he plays bass for Boy Azooka, and he's got his own sort of music that he's bringing out. I can't remember what his timeline is now, but I've had listened to his stuff, and it is just magical. It's so nice. So we're really excited to work with him as well.
And what kind of stuff does he do?
It's
multi-talented, sort of instrumental kind of, very I want to say in kind of almost art rock kind of things, but then a bit more clean cut than that, really. Like, it's really, like, really interesting stuff. And because he's a composer in his own right as well,
right,
he worked with the team that did like Hinterland and those
nice.
all that kind of music. So it's really, really good stuff.
Kind of atmospheric stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
Amazing, nice. And so do you, like, you talked about you have plans for the future, obviously, but do you intend to, like, kind of grow and take on, like, a bunch of new artists, or are you more of the kind of focus on what you've got now and build from what you've got, or what?
Yeah, I think our plans really are to work, like, try and keep small, because we obviously want to be able to give, like, individual, like, attention to all our artists, and but then we also want to work with people from all kinds of genres, so we're not really, like, limited by that, and we just want to work with, like, whatever music that comes our way, or, like, we find that interests us. We want to be able to work with it, but obviously we want to be able to give it the time and attention that it deserves, rather than just be a label that just has so many acts that we don't have the facilities to be able to work with them all individually.
Yeah. So is that kind of one-to-one and, like, time with each act more important than kind of exponential growth? Like, you intend more to spend time with your acts, yeah?
I think so, but then obviously we do want to grow as well, and we want to be like one of the like Wales's best known labels, but and like even like UK, why we're thinking beyond that, because we really believe that Welsh music deserves to, like, to be shown to the, like, showcased to the world, and like especially and like UK especially, and just like seeing where that takes us, really.
Yeah, amazing. And at the moment, you guys are the only CIC record label in Wales, yeah?
Mm-hmm. That's true.
That's wicked. That's quite the accolade. I like it.
Yeah.
So are there other ones in the UK, or?
Not entirely sure, really.
Yeah.
I haven't seen.
So you might be the only one in the UK as well.
So we might be, yeah. But I think it's a model that I think a lot more record labels, like, should go down if they want to work, like, working with artists, because there's so much you can do, like, for the artist community, and so that's kind of what we really wanted to do when setting up, really, is, like, support the artist communities of Wales, and also support the community in general, and have, like, outreach as well. So that's something as well that we're working on, and, like, getting new people involved in music, and if that's something they've been quite uncomfortable with doing, because it's not necessarily just being a musician, it's everything that comes with it, from, like, art and management to promotion, to, like, all the music business things that come with that as well. So there's lots we want to do, like, in the new year and beyond.
Yeah, amazing. It says on your website, because you mentioned it just then, that you have, like, 3 strands essentially of what you do. Like, you've got the label, you've got the publishing, and then you've got the distribution as well. So for anyone kind of not as in depth into the music industry, what do those 3 things mean? Like, what do you bring to the artist under those 3 banners?
Well, so distribution is basically, so whenever things get, like, a song is on Spotify or like YouTube or whatever, there's always a distributor that has the hand in that, and taking the music out to the world, basically. So, like, distribution,
right? And
so we have we have an exclusive deal with a company called The Orchard, which are Sony's distribution company.
Oh, okay.
And so we work with them then to put our artists' music on those like, streaming services.
Right.
So we offer a deal that's specifically for that, but then, because we're a label that don't sign artists, we sign releases. So okay. a lot of what we do, like, we try to look for interesting EPs and albums, because obviously they're the only things that actually will sell now.
Yeah.
Singles you can't make any money off anymore, so we're always looking for larger, like, bigger kind of releases that will be signed to our label. But then we also operate a distributor arm, so if there are any artists which want their music out there, but don't necessarily want to use distribution companies which charge artists to put their music on Spotify and places like that. We offer a service where we're able to provide that at a much better rate than these companies provide, because really we don't think artists should be using companies like that, because there are much better ways to do it.
Yeah. And is it, I guess once upon a time, distribution was more about physical distribution, I guess, right? Like sending out of singles and stuff like that. Nowadays, is it all kind of digital? Is it all just digital distribution, or?
For the most part, I'd say so. But I guess you have, people are still using the physical side of things and bringing back a lot of old ways of physical side of things, like cassettes, and obviously vinyls are still going.
Of course, yeah.
But yeah, for the most part, it is digital, yeah, and it's getting it out onto all those streaming platforms and reaching all those corners where the music could be. It's making sure that those corners of the online musical world are kind of filled.
Yeah, it's interesting because, like, obviously that is the way of the world now. Everything's digital. Everything's just kind of Spotify. And yet it seems that artists aren't really benefiting from that, like in general. Like they don't get, I don't know, they don't get proper, what's the word? Reward, I guess, for their efforts through these streaming sites. Like even on your, is it on your press release? It said something about, there was a sentence specifically I liked. Harmoniously balancing artistic support alongside the financial gain its artists truly deserve in the era of penniless music streaming. Like that stuck out to me. Like it is the era of penniless music streaming. Yeah,
100%. And there is definitely a gap between what the artists should be getting, and what they are.
Yeah.
Because it is a business, making music. Unfortunately, the art is sometimes taken away in that sense. So yeah, alongside a few other things, one of our main goals is to make sure the art stays as the art and it's not turned into some, artificial business body, really. Yeah.
I don't
even...
And
then it's not been afraid of the business side either. I think a lot of people can find like words like marketing and kind of business dirty words, but they're not really. They you just got to think of it as something like just an extra thing you've got to do. You want your music out there, so you want people to hear it. I think every artist does, but yeah, so it's just like being able to marry it because I'm not an artist per se, but then I understand what artists are about, and I listen that most of my friends are artists, so I'm able to like have that knowledge as well as the knowledge I bring, which is marketing and kind of promotion, and like go from there really and marry it all together to create something that's a bit more palatable for people to understand.
Yeah. What do you think about the kind of, I guess you could say, tyranny of Spotify at the moment? Do you see it changing? Do you see, because I'm hearing rumblings of kind of people getting upset about the tiny royalty percentage that people get and stuff, but I can't see it changing in the immediate future. What are your thoughts on that?
Okay.
I think it's actually getting worse. You look at the news that's come out. Yeah, look at the news that's come out recently about so Spotify are they're having this algorithmic system where you can artists can basically say to Spotify, I want you to push my music more, but I'll take a less of a my streaming like royalties will be less. So even though they're something like 0.003 like pence at the moment, so that would be even less again. So it's absolutely like it just takes the pee, quite frankly.
Yeah. It's crazy. It is just a huge money making monopoly basically, and it's taken that art away from these artists. And it's definitely getting worse, and definitely will continue to get worse 100%, because as people learn that they can take more essentially for free, you know, they will bank in on that, and they will reap that even more, and just make the most out of it as much as they can, which is what Spotify, I believe, is doing and will continue to do for quite a while now.
Yeah, it is a monopoly. I don't understand how it began, kind of thing. Like, it's a monopoly based on someone else's art, on someone else's talent and creativity. Like, Spotify literally would not exist without artists and songwriters, and yet they end up with the lion's share, leaving the artists just out in the cold. I don't understand how that happened.
100%. It is like a paradox now, because it's that getting your music heard, but what price should you be paying for that?
Yeah.
And if you're an artist that has no grounding and you're trying to make a name for yourself, from the very, very ground up, it is really difficult to get yourself there without having the people necessary to plug your music out there. You have to go through Spotify, and that way your chances are slim in getting it out there and even making anything off it. Obviously that's not the end goal for artists. Well, can't speak for all artists. I'm sure some do go for that, but that is just it is tough, definitely, with that being the main overriding sort of streaming platform nowadays.
It's kind of unfortunate because it leaves artists with pretty much the only option of just slogging it away on the road, like doing as many kind of live shows and selling as much merch as they can just to survive, which I don't think is a bad thing. Like, people, it's great to have these tours and do shows and stuff, but it's a different thing for that to be like forced on you to survive. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in a sense, like, you're right in that it's good that sort of side of things hasn't changed, that tours still exist for a reason, and it's to plant your seeds around the UK or Europe or the world.
Yeah.
But you'd think a tool that was as prophesized as Spotify is, you think that would just make things slightly easier for artists in that sense. But you're 100% right. If anything, it's hindered them, and tours are being forced upon artists now, instead of things that they want to go on alongside something else that's like a stream income, I guess, that the tours must be rather than can be. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Going back to the three strands then of the business, we talked about distribution. What's the difference between distribution and then publishing then?
Ooh.
So publishing is I don't know if you like what so like Warner Chappell, for example, they're a big publishing house, and so basically they look after artists' copyright. So so any song, like, if you sign a publishing deal, it means that, like, what will happen is that the publisher will then, like, administer or just all the copyright things, and then, like, we work with, like, PPL then, which is like for, like, recording artists. And so anyone that's on anyone that plays on a track gets PPL royalties as long as they're signed up for it. So we help artists with that then. So normally we'll do, like, a distribution and publishing deal which go together, but then some artists maybe already have their PPL sorted, so they might not want to actually hand over their copyright then to another, like, but then that's just something else we can provide if bigger artists don't really want to be looking after, like, sorting all that out. We can administer and like do all that for them as well.
Right. So you kind
it's
of
a little bit more it's a little bit, like, I would say a little bit more difficult to understand, like, as a kind of just an average music person, but then the more business side of it's a bit more technical for that kind of thing. But distribution is a bit easier to deal with.
That makes sense though. And do you kind of chop and change what you offer your artists? Yeah, like you were saying, they might not need the publishing, but they need the distribution kind of thing, and you kind of do what they need. Is that right?
Yes, so we work with artists and then offer them different things. So like without, like, going into too many details, one artist might just require distribution, but then we'll also do things like in-house PR for, like, their campaign or, like, marketing as well. So we'll look at all that, and then other artists might just do a distribution deal for them, and then away to go. they'll go and do whatever else they need to do. And then there'll be other artists then that we'll actually work with on an album campaign and be responsible for doing all the like releasing. So, and the release schedule, and work for them for at least a year or more if they want to continue to work with us.
Right. Amazing. So kind of coming out of lockdown now, imagine that lockdown's done. We finally got to the end of it. We've survived it all. This vaccine works, and we're all kind of back to normal. What's next in a post-lockdown world for Rose Parade? Do you have kind of plans into the live sphere as well, into live part of your acts, or what?
Definitely Rose Parade. Shows that have the Rose Parade name there.
Yeah.
Rose Parade artists coming in, so fans of artists can get to know other artists that are on the label, and a way more tight knit Rose Parade family can be made, because over the ether it's so much harder. Obviously, Zoom's there, but it's not quite as good as a pint in hand at a live show for sure. So
no, definitely
definitely making it so much more than what it is currently is there in terms of live shows. 100%. Yeah,
totally. And also we want to do a lot more outreach as well, so whether that's like doing workshops for like young people, so in like sort of band that might want to learn guitar or bass or drums or whatever, start a band, kind of like, because I've been really inspired by like schemes such as Eat Up for Starters in Bristol, and like doing that on a Cardiff scale, and looking at different things like that are like getting underrepresented people into music, and working with them to like start bands and doing all that. So that really excites us as well.
Yeah. So would you say, obviously, outside of kind of helping the bands and the artists that you have, would that be the main way that you intend to kind of benefit the community as you're a community interest company?
Yeah, there's part of that, and there's also like we're looking to like work with schools as well about like what it means to like be, say, a woman in the music industry, or like different things like that, and do a lot more educational things as well for people that might not necessarily feel that like they can be a musician, but they might want to work in the industry in some other capacity.
Right.
So yeah, that's what we want to get involved in as well.
It's amazing. You guys have got so many ideas. You must be just like chomping at the bit, just wanting to kind of...
yeah. I don't go to sleep at night. I'm just thinking of ideas all the time. It's terrible.
It's great. It's clearly like a project of passion. It's awesome. So where can people find out more about Rose Parade?
So we're on. We got our own website. So if you go to Rose Parade Recording Company on the Googles, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, we've got all the rest. And there's actually like a blog sort of section in our website as well, which we will be updating, I think, fortnightly. Is it okay?
Whenever we want to. I'm going for now.
Yeah. So yeah, a lot of news going out. So if ears are to the ground, there's a lot of stuff to be heard. Definitely.
Awesome. Well, I genuinely wish you all the best. Like, it sounds like a great idea, and I hope that it goes places. Like, I can see that it can. So yeah,
thank you.
Genuinely.
Thank you so much. That's really kind of you.
Cool. Thank you for your time, and again, good luck, and I'll see you and speak to you soon, hopefully.
Thank you. I'll see you soon.
Nice
Bye
one.
now.
Cheers, both. Ta-ra.
Bye.
Right, no messing about between guests. That was Rose Parade Recording Co. They were great. Thank you very much. Happy days. Now it is the one and only Tom from Bedford Falls.
Super. Hello. It's nice to meet you, Ben.
It's nice to meet you too, Tom. How's it going? You all right?
Well, it's okay considering it's the end of the world.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like every podcast these days starts with a similar sort of question and answer. How are you surviving during the end of the world?
Yes. How is your apocalypse?
Yeah, exactly. Nightmare. Did you have many plans with the band that this is kind of scuppered, or?
Oh yeah, we're sitting on like an album, like basically.
Oh, you really?
Yeah, we like fully demoed, and we'd actually gone to like actually demoing in a recording studio, so like spending money to demo songs, like we were going to do it all properly. So we actually have an album that we're not going to put out because we want to record it in like a a special way.
Right.
So there's an entire album's worth of material that we're sitting on that we're not going to release, and B, like we're just itching to like make a record now. But
yeah, nightmare. What do
yeah,
you
it
mean by
is.
a special way of recording?
Well, our guitarist Tom is something of a Renaissance man.
All right.
So he's probably the best guitarist I've ever met in my life. He is a recording engineer. He's an electrical engineer, and actually, he works with my wife at Admiral, and he's like one of their leading kind of corporate lights. So he's
Oh,
kind
wow.
of, yeah, he's the full ticket. He's like a god amongst men. I'm really,
Good job he's in your band then.
it kind of is, yeah. I'm very pleased that he joined. It also helps that he's an absolute dude. So
Always
it's
helps.
win-win for me. It's weird because like we've had so many members over the years. I think we went through 10 members in 2010 alone.
Just in the 1
And
year.
just in 1 year, yeah. I say we. I mean, I suppose when you go through 10 members in a 4-person band, you pretty much have to say me. But because I am the sole original member, I often refer to the band as Trigger's Broom. I don't know if you're aware of
Yeah,
the calls
exactly.
bosses get. But yeah, it's weird because I'm on good terms with pretty much everyone who's ever been in the band. Like, there's not really been a great deal of acrimony
No,
when people leave. It's just because it's a part-time band and they kind of have other things they need to do or they've got to move
of
away or
course,
something.
yeah.
So it's yeah, but like I think this lineup's now been together for like 3 years now. So we're pretty good. We're good. We've only had two substitutions in that time, so we're doing okay.
Not bad, yeah. I was going to
Yeah.
say to give us a brief history of Bedford Falls. So outside of the constantly revolving door of members, yeah, give us a rundown on, I don't know, how it started and the highlights, I guess.
The highlights. All right. Okay. Not a lot of those, but hiya Sam, I can see you there.
Hiya.
So hiya.
Hello.
So I mean, Sam could probably tell it better than me. So
She'll jump in, I'm sure.
she will. I'm sure she will. So it started kind of unofficially in like 1999. No, 1998. Me and like one of my oldest friends had just wanted to do some kind of band at some stage, and we just never got it together. But I just kept doing like little bits with the name and like writing songs and stuff. And then I met a guy called Jim Williams, who was the singer and guitarist in the legendary Welsh post-hardcore band The Take, and he and I
Right.
were, I want to say, in something of a platonic marriage for about 5 years, where we basically just lived in each other's pockets, and I became like The Take's, like, for want of a better term, their bitch. So I was like, I drive them everywhere. I do the merch. I just and just kind of, they were my mates, and we just have a laugh. And I was desperate to do anything like related to music.
Yeah.
And during that time, Jim and I kind of started playing the songs that I was writing together. He was drumming because he's also like one of the best drummers I've ever met, as well as an incredible singer and guitarist. So we put together a band with another friend called James, and we just kind of started. We just played a couple of gigs, and then the lead guitarist from The Take, Pete, joined us as our lead guitarist as well. So like both bands were pretty much running in parallel at one point
Yeah.
for a while, and that lineup was pretty much together for until 2000. So from 2003 when we played our first gig until 2010. So that lineup was together for like 7 years. But refused to tour. So if we
Refused
toured,
to?
yeah, pretty much. So, but like it wasn't
What does
like
that mean? You didn't want to, or you
no,
weren't
no.
able to?
Well, I wanted to, but the rest of the band weren't kind of. They either had like there was always other things going on.
Right.
So that was when the kind of the substitution aspect of Bedford Falls became a thing. So we got booked for like a 2 week tour with a Canadian band called the Paperbacks in 2004, just after our first single came out.
Amazing
And
band.
they were an amazing band. They
I don't
were
know him.
lovely dudes.
So good.
Like kind of jangly,
You
almost Scandinavian stuff. What?
you probably know a few of the tracks, Ben, because they're on quite a lot of our playlists.
Okay. Yeah, probably. If you turn them on, I'd know them straight away, probably, yeah.
There's one about a starfish hospital that people really like.
Starfish Hospital.
Stuff. So
Who
we
will
did
run
that.
the Starfish Hospital?
Who will run the Starfish Hospital? Indeed. So we got that tour, and about 3 weeks before the tour, I was on holiday with Jim, our drummer, and he's like, "Look, man, we're not going to be able to do the tour because the Take are going to make another record, and we need to like knuckle down and do it." So I spiraled a little, and then I contacted like some of my friends who were in local hardcore bands, and then we did
Right.
like a couple of other bits and bobs, but for some bizarre reason, I've never really worked out. I didn't just transition to that band. So we carried on with the original lineup. We play occasionally and do bits and bobs here and there. But if there was any kind of requirement to do more than like a local show or like a weekend away, I would usually have to draft in other people from either the the original Scab lineup or other local musicians. And then we put out a record in 2008,
Was that your
which
first record?
our first album, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
called Savings and Loan, which I've still got a couple of in the house. Came out on CD on the Boss Tunage label, great DIY institution in Great Britain. And then we didn't really tour it because it was just impossible to
Yeah.
gain any kind of traction in this band.
That's the way it is with part-time bands. It's just
It is.
yeah.
But then in 2009, back in the MySpace days, um, I, my wife, my now wife, then girlfriend, and I were like, just hadn't. Bedford Falls received a message on our MySpace from a band from Buffalo called Failures Union, and I was kind of like,
Right.
this is a bit tasty. So I was kind of like, this is really, really good. And my wife was, well, like Kerry, was, yeah, this is amazing. We should buy these records. And so we bought the records off the guys. And then I just wound up messaging them one day and was like, look, do you guys want to come over here? Because we would love to like play some shows with you. And they were like, yeah, sure. So I booked a 2 week tour for us and them in 2010. And we had an incredible time. Just like four guys who just got who we were and we got who they were. And, it was just like a true friendship. The irony being, of course, that at that point, my band basically dissolved and I had to kind of put another lineup back together.
Nightmare.
So we got my friend Kate, who is now in a band called Personal Best, to play bass, and we got my friend Howell, who went on to be in a band called Wraith and a band called Hark for a while, to play drums, and Sam, who had played in the original Scab lineup, who was then in Harbour, played guitar for us, and we had an incredible time, the four of us, on that tour up and down the country. Great time. We even sold some merch. We didn't lose money. It was amazing.
Nice.
So then, when that finished, Failures Union were kind of like, well, we did a tour with you. Why don't you come out here to the US and play some shows with us? So we did 2 weeks over there, culminating in us playing the festive games in Gainesville with amazing bands, and that was kind of that was 2010. So that lineup then kind of did a bit, and then when we came back, we potched around with some bits and bobs, and Sam, who was playing guitar on that tour, wound up playing drums for us for a while. We recorded another album in the spring of 2012 called Elegant Balloons, which isn't a bad record.
It's not bad. Not your favourite.
No, it probably is my favourite, but I'm just being modest. And then, this is standard like indie rock woes. I'm surprised I haven't used the term "the manager dropped the ball" at some point, but that's we've never had a manager. Although we have had two people ask to be our manager. One of them is now a convicted paedophile.
That's the kind of person you want to be a manager.
Yeah, he was quite successful at being a manager for a little while there. Sam probably knows who I'm talking about.
Curly hair?
Yeah.
Yeah, curly hair.
Looked a bit like Ron Jeremy.
Yeah.
Yes. That's the fella.
Managed the automatic.
Yeah, he did manage the automatic.
As you said a little while back as well, that you booked a tour with the one band that you were playing with.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because you do a lot of promotion and stuff, show promotion, gig promotion, right?
I did. I don't like. I don't have the spirit for it anymore. Even if that kind of thing was happening, I kind of stopped pretty much doing that stuff. You're probably around about then, actually.
Right.
Like I've put on probably about 10 gigs in the last decade, I guess. Maybe, probably not even that. But yeah, there was a period like probably 2003 through 2010. I was quite heavily involved in like putting stuff on and kind of doing bits and bobs.
Yeah. Sam told me a little bit about Dead Souls. Is it
Dead Souls? Yes. Yeah.
That was kind of the start of touring bands at the pub, right?
Yes. Yeah. So that was kind of like my involvement with Le Pub. Like the first time I went to Le Pub, I think was my friend Dave, who is known as Monk Dave. So Dave said, "Oh, look, I've got these friends of mine called the Ghost Mice coming through. Can you give me and them a lift to Newport? They're playing this place called Le Pub." I was like, "I think I've been to Le Pub before, like years ago. Why not? Let's have a laugh." So I went through. Not my most auspicious evening, if I'm honest. Got my very first speeding ticket, which was nice.
Oh, wow.
The band had basically not showered the entire time they were on the tour, so they were a little funky.
They really were.
Singer from the band. They really were. The singer from the band. And the singer from the band was later like kind of outed as a bit of a sex pest. So all in, not like an auspicious like start to my sort of Le Pub.
Tom, the first time I remember you coming to Le Pub was driving Douglas. So was that before or after Ghost Mice?
That was about 2 weeks after.
Oh, I don't think we actually spoke at the Ghost Mice gig. The first time we had a conversation was the Douglas gig.
Was the Douglas show? Yeah, I doubt that was. Yeah, I was going to say that was kind of my first sort of, like the Ghost Mice gig was the first time I'd been to Le Pub, I believe, and then like my first kind of like, oh, would you be interested in doing some shows here? Was probably that Douglas show, yeah. And then I met Sam then, and ironically we wound up playing with Ghost Mice again with a band called King Blues.
Yeah.
The singer from that band. The singer from that band is a sex pest too. So
I'm seeing a pattern emerging here.
King Blues left. King Blues left 3 boxes of merch, and this is obviously like pre being able to contact people that easily on the internet. So I think I reached out. I think I reached out via their MySpace page and didn't get a reply, and then I literally couldn't give them away. No one gave a shit. And then about 5 years after that, suddenly the whole world went King Blues mad. And I was like, I dropped off 300 T-shirts at a charity shop, guys. I could have hooked you all up.
Oh, nice.
But
could have made a fortune.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it wasn't my favourite night out, to be honest. I think we played to about 3 people that night as well.
What was your favourite night? What's the favourite show that either you've put on or that you've played?
At Le Pub.
No, not especially, but
I mean, in terms of Le Pub, I would say my 32nd birthday was a pretty special one.
yeah.
Yeah, we played with a band called Matadors, who were like incredible friends of ours from Leeds. And it was just great. And I believe that was actually the night of the second attempt at somebody coming up and saying, I should be your manager. We'd obviously played like a show. It was my birthday, so loads of like our friends were out. Like people were singing along and having a rare old time. And it looked like we were like, this incredible band with this great following.
Yeah.
And this dude was like, you need a manager. And I'm like, we don't. Nobody likes what we do. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, there's people there singing along. And I'm like, yeah, but like they don't come every time we play, mate. It's like this is a party. You're not like. And he just couldn't get that like we had no real requirement for like a manager.
He probably just thought he saw an opportunity for a few quid.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it was all very nice. It was all very flattering. I can't. I suppose there's just a little bit too much of the old Ian McKay in me, to be honest.
Yeah.
Just a bit too punk for my own good. But I just, yeah. The other problem is I've had like the same job for 27 years, so I'm kind of like not super into the idea of running off to join the circus.
Right.
If I'm honest. It's just, I have no real interest in being a rock star. It doesn't suit my sort of temperament.
No? So if someone gave you the opportunity to do this full time, you'd be reluctant to take it, do you think?
I mean, if somebody guaranteed me like the kind of wages I'm on
at
the present moment in time to do it, yeah, I'd do it, but I wouldn't do it and face financial uncertainty. I mean, at that point in time, I was probably the best place in my life to kind of do it. I mean, now I'm married, I've got a kid,
yeah,
a mortgage. I have no real interest. It doesn't appeal. I mean, I would like to play more, but I wouldn't necessarily want to kind of spend lots of time away from like my wife and my daughter. It just doesn't interest me.
Yeah, more of a balance thing at the moment.
Well, I mean, there's no balance to it at all at the moment. I pretty much they're the only two people I see. So not that I'm complaining about that, but it's kind of it just doesn't like. There's no brass ring for me in terms of like I've never really been into like the kind of concept of like rock stardom or any of that kind of stuff. It doesn't. Again, there's too much of the old Ian McKay in me, to be honest. It's just all I'm too punk for my own good, which is ironic because like my band doesn't is probably is the least punk band ever. But like the kind of the ethos of it is just it's just too ingrained in me in like too much of a contrarian to kind of really buy into it.
Right. But yeah, you've already done 3 albums, and you say you've got another one that you're sitting on.
Yeah,
you got another one that you're sitting on. So, do you foresee yourself continuing like in this way indefinitely, just kind of playing shows here and there, and just making albums, making songs, and you'll be happy with that?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. If somebody said to me, like, if someone was like, "I will patronize you" in the literal meaning, and kind of present you with like 30 grand a year, carry on doing it. It's not gonna it won't cost you any money. Just do this for a living. I'd love to do it. It would. Sometimes I wonder what I could have done if I'd had the time to just do it like all the time. would I have been any better, or would there just have been like more filler?
Right.
Like as it is now, every single note has to count almost. I don't have time to like dick about, so every single song has to be kind of good enough to go on a record, basically.
Right.
And like, I don't want to sound like a jerk, but like I think I've got a pretty good batting average. Like we do not have like a lot of songs that we haven't recorded or anything like that. Everything that gets written by and large shows up on a record.
Right.
So I think sometimes, you know, you do wonder if I'd had my druthers, like if like as a 17-year-old like dickhead I'd just been like, sod this, I'm gonna run away and be in a band.
Yeah.
Whether it would have worked, but I don't know, I'm not that 17-year-old boy, and I wasn't me then. So you know, there were reasons why it didn't happen when it should have happened, and most of them were down to the fact that I was bone idle and you know just lacked confidence. So it's kind of, you know, it took me until I was 28 to start a band properly.
Yeah.
So you know, I don't know.
It's a very honest and grounded opinion that you don't hear very often in the music industry. All you hear is the narrative of it's a young man's game and that you've got to be in it 100% to get anything out of it. But you seem to have, you found a good balance where you have your life and then you can continue to do the things in the music industry that make you happy, as you say, indefinitely.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing to stop us. I mean, you know, acts of, well, I won't say acts of God because I don't believe in God, but you know what I mean. Like obviously the current situation has definitely stopped me and us as a band doing stuff.
Yeah.
Had this not happened, you know, we'd have put a record out this year. We'd have probably tried to book a tour, although that doesn't go so well for us these days. But you know, we'd have gone out and played. You know,
you were booked in here,
and we were booked in here. Yes, I wish we'd played it. You know, and we'd have done bits and bobs. You know, we'd have travelled up and down. We'd have had a laugh, and we'd have probably pled straight into writing album 5, which would have probably taken us another 4 years. But it's, you know, it's fine. I mean, I am at 46, kind of looking at like, is this something that I can continue to do realistically, you know, for much longer? But then I look like Bob Mould from Husker Du was 60 last week, and he's put out one of the best albums he's done, you know, in his career this year. So I'm not like, I'm under no illusions that like we will make it or that we'll crack it or whatever, but there's no reason that we shouldn't continue to make music. And if people want to buy it or consume it in some way, want to come and watch us play, that's great. If they don't, it probably isn't going to stop us.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's important for people to hear as well that, like, the kind of goal and aim of superstardom shouldn't be the sole reason for someone to get into the music industry or the sole reason to start a band. Like, there's so many more things that you get out of it than just the possibility of stardom. That's not the point.
Yeah. I mean, I like, in terms of like the concept of success, putting out album 1 was a success. Playing gig 1 was a success.
Yeah.
Playing in America was a success, although it was also one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. I met my wife as a result of doing this band.
She's awesome.
So as a result, she is awesome. So as a result of doing this, like the 2 most important people in my life are in my life.
Yeah.
You know, my wife and my daughter. Like, these are successes. These are things.
Huge successes.
Yeah.
We always say the same about the venue because, you know, you get, which huge bands came through your venue. It's not about which huge bands came through the venue. It's about the thousands of bands that had a really great time playing music in the venue. And if they went on to be famous, then awesome. But if they didn't, also awesome. Like the bands And venues shouldn't be about finding fame. They should be about creativity and meeting like-minded people and an environment in which these things are nurtured. Not just because you...
And fame is literally just a bonus.
For some people. For some, they don't even want it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, true. Yeah.
I read an article a couple of weeks ago, and it really did ring true to me. That kind of stipulated that, like, we lived through a very brief period during which musicians got paid.
Yeah.
During which any musicians got paid. So where it was possible, although still incredibly unlikely, to make a living and to be incredibly successful as a musician. That is over now, and people need to get used to that idea. It's kind of, I do have friends who tried to make it in the music industry. I still have friends who are trying to make it in the music industry, and it can be quite disheartening to kind of see the way that they kind of tie their idea of success up with, like, their ability to monetize it. And obviously, it's easy for me to say that. I've got a reasonably good job. My wife's got an even better job. I'm not struggling for money. So yeah, it's easy for me to say that. But then I also made the decision very early on in this band not to make it, not to like monetize it. I'm happy if this doesn't cost me money, although it doesn't. Like, and for a very long time it didn't. Unfortunately, that time seems to have passed. But there was a period of time when this band broke even, and we were lucky, and we got to do it, and we did lots of fun stuff, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with not being a megastar.
Nothing at all. Yeah.
I read another article in the Dentist once. There was like some kind of music magazine, and some kind of like 80s kind of music mogul of some description was bemoaning the lack of bands who appeared to want to be megastars, and I was kind of like, well, no, like the point of making music is to make music. The point of being a megastar is to be famous. The two things aren't, they can go hand in hand, but they don't automatically go hand in hand. Neither should they. Like the point of like making music is to kind of satisfy an artistic urge. And I'm not, trying to say that like what we do is great art by any stretch of the imagination, but like it still satisfies my urge to kind of plug in a guitar and play. And if other people like it, that's brilliant. And if they don't, I'd probably still be doing it.
Yeah, that ticks the boxes.
We've only got a couple of boxes.
Yeah, only got a couple of minutes left. I just wanted to talk a little bit about. I was scrolling through the Bedford Falls Twitter, and it's essentially all politics these days. Like I guess you haven't got much to promote. You haven't got anything coming out or anything, but I don't see Bedford Falls as an overtly political band. But do you? No. Is it mainly because of the times we're living in, or what?
I think there is an element of the times we're living in. I'm a political person, and I always have been. Like I've always been very left-leaning, even as a kid, despite the fact that my parents were apolitical. But I don't know where it comes from, but I've always had a very kind of keen sense of social justice. And I guess, I mean, dude, you should have been here 20 years ago, and I'd be like tweeting about like the poo I just took. So you've arrived at the right time. I actually got told off by my bandmates for doing that, and I do take the point, and I am sorry to both Kate and Pete. I know you're not in a band anymore, but you were at the time.
A public apology.
And I publicly repudiate anything I said about my bowel movements on the internet under the guise of Bedford Falls while you were in it. So yeah, I think like there's an element of, I mean, social media is. I mean, we all know that it's a pain in the ass. So obviously things get put in front of you. Sometimes you just want to sound funny or clever or to have like the kind of the insightful observation,
the hot take, as they say. Yeah,
the hot take. So it's kind of, there's, obviously an element of that. My brain doesn't really switch off from that kind of thing anyway. So having like a kind of like 280 letter kind of mouthpiece to do it with, to reach the like, literal tens of people who follow us on Twitter. You know, the idea, I don't know. I mean, part of me just enjoys being able to scream into the void. Yeah, it is. It is political. Weirdly, I think like as a band, we've always had. It's always been kind of there on a couple of songs in a record, but you can't really make it out
right.
necessarily. Like I don't feel like, apart from the songs which are quite obviously about my wife, like most of our songs aren't necessarily about what you think they're about when you listen to them.
Yeah,
Which is what songs should be. They're completely open to interpretation.
for sure. Yeah, mean different things to different people.
Different things to different people, and that's great. So like there has been like a kind of like a vaguely political undercurrent to like at least 2 or 3 songs on every record we've done, be they like socio-political or kind of more to do with like interpersonal politics and stuff like that. The next record is fairly obviously going to be a little bit more political
Yeah.
again, by and large. Because,
Understandable.
Yeah, when you kind of you're in it, it does kind of come out. So it's kind of the politics is something that it's more me than it is the band for sure. Although
Right.
The current lineup, I mean, I don't think we've ever had a Tory in the band, so but like the current lineup, like we are all on pretty much the same page politically.
Right now, if you're not political, then there is a massive ignorance of your privilege. I think everybody needs to be political right now because the world is being torn apart so that 1%, not even 1% anymore, 0.5% of the people can get rich. And if you can't see that, then you have a massive blinkers onto the world around you because of your privilege. And we all need to do everything we can to wake people up to that.
Mm-hmm. I think people have a conveniently narrow definition of politics in their mind, that they're only referring to party politics or who the elections are going to kind of bring in next. But it's not about that anymore. It's about life. Like politics is our daily life and how we're all affected by the decisions that are made. It's crazy that people want to just stay out of it.
I think like I'm on my soapbox now. I think a lot of it comes to the kind of the collapse of the trade union movement in the 80s. I think like and don't get me wrong, I understand why it became unpopular, although I think a lot of that is kind of was newspaper spin at the time. The trade union movement, the labour movement, for want of a better term, was about kind of, even if you didn't have party political power, you had the ability to go and improve your knowledge of the way the world worked and the way the world worked around you.
Right.
Which was very much kind of led by, your unions, your trade unions, and kind of like things like working men's clubs and stuff like that. And in Wales there was a very proud history of that. And
of course,
that kind of, that was very much eroded throughout the 80s and in the 90s under Labour. There was a definite. Some of my friends will roll their eyes if they're listening to this when I say that, like, I believe that like Oasis are responsible for the dumbing down of like the working class intellectual, because I feel like that kind of like whole cocaine and champagne and like hedonism kind of became like the de facto setting for any kind of working class intellectual, really.
Right.
And there was a sense of like almost giving in to like fags, football, and booze. And
yeah, just abandon. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of and it's definitely a thesis I've been working on for a long time. So I think what you've seen or what we see now is almost the result of, and like generationally, people are always kind of down on the boomers and the millennials, but I actually feel like the generation I belong to, like Gen X, we were kind of like leading the way through like a lot of those dark times, and nobody's touching us about it. Like, and I find that weird. Like, the property boom. All right, it was the boomers who were buying them, but it was the millennials who were selling it. Not millennials, the Gen Xers who were selling them. Tony Blair was a Gen Xer. It's kind of, I feel like people who are now middle aged almost getting off far too lightly. And I say this
I
as
agree.
one of them. Yeah, well, thank you very much for this lovely chat, both.
No, thank you. Yeah, I was just going to say thank you so much for your time. It's been great.
That's what a podcast's for. Oh, that was weird.
That's what a podcast's for, isn't it? Exactly. Okay, a platform to ramble.
Tom, you have to come and see our new recording studio that we built.
I would love to come and see your recording studio.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I mean, if I would love to leave Cardiff.
Yeah, we've as soon as you're allowed, you'll have to come and have a look. We built a recording studio with a separate control room and everything in the basement. It's beautiful.
That sounds banging.
Yep, it's real beautiful.
That was the plan for all the people that we get on the podcast to do sessions in the recording studio in the hub, but
and we will.
Yeah,
assuming
we definitely got to do sessions.
We can't all be we're not all in the same city, much less.
Yep.
So
we are in 3 lockdown areas between the 3 of us.
Yeah.
Well, we've got. My band has 4. Actually, one of them's not locked down.
Not locked down. Where are they?
John lives in Portishead.
Ah, right. Lucky them.
So he's locked out of his hometown, Cardiff. he can do whatever he likes where he lives.
I'd like to be able to just put my dog in a car and drive somewhere nice and walk him. That's the one thing that's bothering me. I don't see what the problem with me driving to the middle of nowhere in Newport to walk my dog is. Instead, I have to walk him around the city centre and see lots of other people who are also walking their dog around. No, I'm in Newport. I've been in Newport for a couple of years now.
Have you? I don't keep up, sorry.
No, I'm smack bang in the city centre and we're not allowed to drive to exercise, so we have to just walk around the river.
Are you not?
No, you're not supposed to drive to exercise. You can exercise for as long as you want, but you have to start and finish from home, not in a car.
Oh, right. Mm-hmm. I totally did that yesterday. Absolutely. I certainly didn't put myself, my daughter and my wife in the car and go drive somewhere, even though we actually live on the Taft train.
Certainly not. Be so irresponsible.
Yeah, it's really annoying.
That would be a terrible thing to do.
But I did take an absolutely banging picture of the river today, so all good. Urban photography. Yeah, pros and cons.
Yeah.
I haven't had time to get on the gram today. I've been doing this. Pretty much as soon as I put my daughter to bed, I was like, right, I need to work out how to work this technology.
This newfangled technology.
This newfangled. Well, you're on Zoom. If it had been Teams, I'd be fine. I spend all my day on Teams.
I'm glad to give you a day out on Zoom then. A bit of a holiday.
A day out. It is.
What sad lives we leave now. Well, on that note, we'll call it a day. Thank you so much for your time once again.
Yes. I'm sorry I didn't talk about Le Pub more.
It's all right. It's not just about Le Pub. It's about people who love Le Pub and are connected to Le Pub and what they do.
Yeah. Or even people that will soon love Le Pub. We don't exclude anyone. We'll bring a connection to them.
Yeah.
Before we go, have you ever worked out how many times we played there? Because I know we do hold the record, but I don't know if that's official or just assumed.
No, it's just assumed. I would put it in the 30s.
Wow.
Okay.
It's not bad going.
I would put it in the 30s probably because, I mean, there was at least 3 birthday parties every year for 4 or 5 years, and you'd play every single one. There'd be like your birthday, which I share. There'd be Gary's birthday. There'd be Liege's birthday. And you'd play every single one of them. Plus many, many Dead Souls gigs and all the other gigs we've put you on and you've put on. At least 30 odd.
Wow.
So if anyone listening feels confident to challenge that record, bring it on.
Bring it on.
Bring it on.
Yeah.
Bring it on. Bring it on. Take the crown. Take the crown, because we're not going to stop playing there. So, that is going to be a rolling total, folks. So if you want to come for the king.
That's it. The gauntlet's been thrown.
And I ain't retiring. So as long as there's a La Pub.
I'm not retiring either. So there will be a La Pub.
Yeah.
Happy days. There it is.
There we go.
Nice one, Tom. Cheers for your time. And hopefully,
Ben.
we'll see you.
Lovely to meet you.
No worries. Yeah, hopefully we'll see you soon in the pub.
Super. I would say it was lovely to meet Sam, but I've met her too many times.
Yeah, it's not a pleasure anymore. It's just routine.
Not lovely anymore.
I'm still lovely.
I do.
Still lovely.
You are. Oh, of course you are. Who would dream of telling you any different?
No one, because I'd
Not
fight
me,
them.
She's my boss.
Indeed. Yes, he wouldn't. Yes, no, exactly. Right. Well, thank you very much for having me. It was lovely to chat to the two of you. I hope I see you both very, very soon.
Bye.
The world doesn't end.
Yeah, that'd be
Fingers
nice.
crossed. Nice one. Cheers, Tom.
Bye.
Ta-ra.
Bye.
Bye.